All right. Hello and welcome everyone to our next episode of the Algorand developer. No, we're on the proof of state show, but hold on just a second because I want to make this thing go in Discord. So when we're doing live broadcasts, sometimes things don't always go to plan, but just give me a quick second, guys. This is the joy of live broadcasting. Okay. So an event that is not the boot camp because that's going on right at proof of state. Here we go. Start. Okay. Share event, start event. This is supposed to be done in 30 seconds. There's no way. I have to get a longer intro, guys. Okay, so share my screen and sharing this screen right here. Go live. Okay, so now it's working there. Okay, here we go. Guys, here we are. All right, hello and welcome to the Algorand Proof of State Show, a show by algo devs for algo devs. Here we connect with the development teams building our decentralized future. We are dev-focused, exploring the design decisions and the code enabling the projects and protocols advancing the Algorand ecosystem. I'm your host, Ryan Fox, developer advocate here at Algorand. On today's episode, we are focused on dev tooling, specifically AlgoKit. My guests today are John Woods, CTO at Algorand Foundation, Alessandro Capoletto-Ferrari, Head of Product at Algorand Foundation, and Rob Moore, CTO at MakerX, the team building AlgoKit. I'm pleased to have each of you on the show.
Hello.
Hello. By the way, great to finally be on the Proof of State show. I mean, it only took you a year to get me on the premier podcast of the entire network, Ryan.
I'm glad you're here. Definitely. Let me set the stage for our discussions today. So the AlgoKit CLI is our one-stop dev tool for building smart contracts on the Algorand network. AlgoKit gets developers of all levels up and running with familiar, fun, and productive development environments in minutes. The goal of AlgoKit is to help developers build and launch secure, automated, production-ready applications rapidly. The key piece of Kit for algo devs, and today we have our team delivering it for you. So John, Alessandro, and Rob, welcome one and all to the Algorand Proof of State Show.
Thanks.
Appreciate the kind words, John. John and Rob, it's actually both of your first time on the show. So I want to turn to you first and give us a little introduction, right? Tell us about the role within your organization and how does it relate to AlgoKit. Rob, you're joining us from farthest away, so why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. Rob Moore. I'm joining from Perth in the west coast of Australia. So it's sort of 10 p.m. here at the moment. So it's in the night time. And I'm the Chief Technology Officer of MakerX. We're a company that builds digital products for startups and venture builders and corporates. And we've, been really pleased to be a partner with Algorand for a while now. We've sort of been building a few things, the biggest one, of course, being AlgoKit, why we're here today. And just really excited to be on the show. And I guess I've been building stuff on Algorand for a fair while now. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Glad you're here. John, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. I'm also a CTO. There's too many of us. What does that really mean? I suppose it's the person who's ultimately responsible for the tech strategy and overall tech, plan at a company. And so when I was interviewing for this job over a year ago, I had calls with, guys from the Inc. like John Giannotti, Paul Regal, Gary Maloff, people who are working on the protocol. I also had, of course, interviews with Stacy and the other senior people at the foundation. And one of the things that I always try to do in interviews is be prepared. So I thought, I'll try to launch a coin in Algorand in testnet. I will try to make a Hello World application because I hadn't used it, right? I was working on Cardano, I worked on Ethereum. I hadn't used Algorand. And, I was like, this developer experience isn't great. And I remember on the call with Stacy, she was like, what kind of things would you do if you joined? And one of the things that was so obvious to me just from my interview experience was like, we need better developer tools because Cardanos aren't perfect, but they're pretty good. Ethereum's obviously the most mature, are super good. And so, everyone's trying to develop these things, and different platforms, different cryptocurrencies all have their own nuances. But one thing that was clear to me was that the experience on Algorand wasn't as good as it could be. and it wasn't I guess fitting for a protocol that is so great in technology wise, right? Because the protocol is fantastic and it really is cutting edge. And so when I came to the foundation, one of the first things I did was sit down and think about how we could improve the developer tools. And so I looked across the entire gamut of things that were done. And what I mean by that is I went to all the open source efforts to make developer tools, and there was lots of great ones like Algo Builder and others. And then I thought to myself, what we really need is a one-stop shop, like an appliance, like your dishwasher. It does one thing, it does it great, right? It washes your dishes. What we need is an appliance that gives you everything you need to build and deploy and test applications for Algorand. And so then I realized that I didn't have enough talent to do that on my own. And so I hired Alessandro. And, pretty much after the idea of let's do this, I haven't really been involved, in fairness. It's been Alessandro and the hyper-talented people at MakerX. And maybe now is a good idea to switch over to Alessandro, who can maybe take you on how he developed that product vision for AlgoKit.
Yeah, absolutely. Alessandro, welcome back. Back to back, in fact. Glad to have you here once again. You got a new title since last time you were on the show. So head of product. Now, what does that mean for AlgoKit?
It's same old, same old. My main focus is and always will be AlgoKit. It's the thing I love most working on. So it's new title, same job, pretty much.
Good. Well, I think John pretty much covered the why AlgoKit, right? So Alessandro, let's go to you. But from a product standpoint, what is AlgoKit meant to solve then?
So there are a few things. I was a software engineer, not really good at it, and that made me realize flaws that are in developer tools. Meaning, if you're looking for a new library, if you're not already invested in a community or in a piece of technology, you'll try it out. If it doesn't work within 5 minutes, you're on to the next one. It's as simple as that. While I was interviewing for this role with John, I had the same struggles as he did. I was like, I don't really know if I should show up to the interview. I'm not even able to set it up and running the environment. So we started brainstorming right then and there during the interview. And once I started, everything developer focused starts with a CLI. It's the extension of your thoughts on a computer. So there was this super grant proposal. We've looked at what were the submissions, and then I saw this, I think it was 400 slides long proposal from a few guys in Australia, and I was like, okay, it looks like what I had in mind. Make it easy, make it simple. There are some tweaks here and there, and I hopped on a call with Rob and Matt, CEO at MakerX. They were amazing. So we said, yeah, let's do it. Let's merge the visions and work together and actually do it. And the first barrier for developer experience is onboarding. So we focused a lot of time during the 1.0 release on making it dead simple to set up everything. Because also as an engineer, I've onboarded a lot of interns. And usually my experience, it was mainly Ruby on Rails with my SQL stack. And my notes at that job were 90% already known bugs for different repos. So there was like OpenSSL dependency that didn't work with that version of MySQL, unless you did something else. That is something that if you are a new developer or a developer that is just learning or just wants to explore a new technology, you cannot have these kind of errors. So we've started, and the main focus was actually making it as smooth as possible to start. So then you can see the goodies that we are now delivering and then stay there for the rest of your career.
Yeah, Rob, you and your team answered that RFP and came through. Give us a little bit of a retrospective, I guess, right? So what was the developer experience like beforehand? I know Alessandro touched on it, John touched on it a little bit, but importantly, like what was it like, and then how have you guys now solved for it with AlgoKit 1.x?
Yeah, so I guess when we first started developing on Algorand, I think it's fair to say that it was very clear to us that the technology itself behind Algorand was amazing, and the things that you could do were really good. And in particular, compared to some of the other chains, some of the first class layer one building blocks on Algorand are really great. But the developer experience, especially when you were like first learning Web3, like if you think about it, it's quite a different paradigm. There's a lot of things that you already have to like learn and wrap your head around, like consensus or IPFS or whatever it might be. So there's already a lot of things going on from a cognitive load perspective. And then in addition to that, it's like, how do I spin up one of these things on my computer? Or if I'm gonna not do that and talk to say testnet, how do I like get like enough algos to do something interesting? Like there's so many like, I guess, considerations that you kind of have to wrap your head around before you can even start writing a line of code and seeing that work. And that kind of comes back to what Alessandro was talking about, is like, if you're not motivated to do that, and we were, because we were trying to build something specifically on Algorand, which is the Data History Museum, something, if you go to datahistory.org, go and check it out. It's really interesting. And so we were motivated to do it. So we stuck with it, and sort of we were finding that every time a developer would get up to speed, it would take a few weeks. And, over time, what we did is what we do for all of our projects. We built a lot of, scripts and, IDE configurations and all kinds of things that slowly made it easier and easier and easier for our developers to actually build high quality software, highly automated software with automated testing and automated deployments. And, you can clone a fresh thing on your computer and hit F5 and the whole thing just runs, and all of that sort of stuff, right? And so when we saw the DevTools Super Grant come out, we said, well, we've already done a lot of the work for that. It made sense to sort of, put a proposal in. And what we did is we spent a lot of time deeply thinking about what would the ideal end-to-end experience be from a developer that doesn't know anything about this stuff, going on a journey in a very short period of time to be able to then, rapidly experiment and innovate on their local computer, get it into testnet and test it quickly, and then get something that's secure and highly automated into mainnet, and to do all of that in a single digit number of weeks. And so we put a lot of deep thought into what are the steps that you'd have to go through for that entire journey, and what is the best possible experience for each of those steps, and basically constructed that together into, as Alessandro put it, it wasn't 400 slides, but it was quite comprehensive, this vision that we had. And then naturally, John came on board and Alessandro came on board, and we started talking to each other and found that the vision that we had was really well aligned with the vision that John and Alessandro had. And together we've spent a lot of time over the last sort of 12 months or however long it's been, crafting those visions and aligning them, coming up with this product roadmap and obviously the deliverables that we've been working on, to basically start to realize that vision and bring it to life.
Well, that's what, yeah. I want to do that. I mean, on the proof of stake show, we want to see the code. So I think you got a demo, and I'll bring that up for you. And let's go through and show off what AlgoKit is, and then John, jump in. Vision and kind of what it is, and then that continuum of what Rob had described. Maybe along the way, just tell us where we are in delivering on that vision.
Sure, and I think maybe just before Rob starts the demo, I'll just say Algorand and other cryptocurrencies like it, these platforms that have programmable money, to me, I look at them as decentralized operating systems. And what I mean is that when you execute a program like Chrome that's running on my laptop right now, it allows me to run this application locally and speak with you. And so there's 4 instances of that going on. Algorand and programmable cryptocurrencies are different to a local computer, of course. And so when you upload your smart contract to the blockchain, the value is that the execution of the code, the correctness of the execution of the code that you've written, is ensured by the consensus protocol of this decentralized operating system. So building apps on Algorand is like building apps for Windows, except for when they run everywhere rather than just on a single computer. And there's, of course, that means that they're great at very specific applications, and it tends to be applications handling digital currency, of course. But that's all well and good. But we needed to make sure that anyone could interact with this operating system. And if you take the operating system comparison and you kind of expand it, it's very easy to get started on Microsoft Windows or on Mac OS or even on Linux these days. If you're an interested young individual with no experience, you can get a Hello World app running in most languages pretty quickly on those operating systems. And so I took inspiration from that simplicity, from that clarity, I guess, from the developer tools that have deference towards the user, where they get out of the user's way and make the user enjoy the art of writing the software rather than having to deal with the friction that comes with the platform. And so that was something that Rob and his team and Alessandro fundamentally understood. And I just say one last thing about Maker before they demo this fantastic product, which is that it's not usual when you outsource, any kind of engineering that you get a product that's loved. And I've done it in many, many companies. I've worked with the big four consultancy companies. I've worked with smaller bespoke dev shops, but I've never seen an external vendor, okay, if I can call MakerX that, put so much care into what they were building. It was like they were building it for themselves. And so I couldn't be happier with the quality of the work and where we're going to take it. We can talk about it maybe after the demo. But this thing used to suck, and now Rob and team and Alessandro have brought together this tool that Rob's going to demo, and it just makes building apps awesome.
Love it. All right, Rob, let's see what you got.
It's funny you say like it's like we're building it for ourselves, because in a lot of ways that's kind of the philosophy we take to it, is like, what would we want if we were consuming it, and then as an added benefit, we are also using it as users for all the things that we build. As an example, like the voting app that we built recently for XGov, as an example of that, right? I guess, like, in going through this, what I'm going to start by doing is demonstrating the core stuff that we built for what we notionally called AlgoKit V1, which was released, I think March or something like that.
March 29th.
Wow, very specific. Thank you, Alessandro. And basically the focus of that was, like Alessandro said, if you're brand new to this, how do you get started, and how we guide you into a getting started experience where you feel like you understand what's going on, and where, to John's point, you can come to this with whatever kind of operating system, for instance, and sort of environment that that you want to. So you don't have to be on, say, Linux or Mac or whatever it is. Like, you can use it on Windows. And in fact, I'm going to demonstrate this on Windows. But everything that I show here, you can do the same thing in Linux and Mac as well. And in particular, the focus was on allowing these developers to develop smart contracts. And then after I've done this demo, we'll probably start talking about some of the stuff we've done since version 1, where we kind of build on top of that, and we start doing things like DApps and all of that sort of thing. So AlgoKit itself is first and foremost a command line tool. It's a lot more than just a command line tool, but if we kind of like execute that, then you can see there's quite a number of sort of sub commands here that we've lit up, and some of these are actually there's actually a spoiler alert in here. There's one that's actually not publicly available because I'm on like a beta version of this. So fun little task for everyone watching to try to figure out what the new thing that's coming is. And basically, there's some key commands here that were really important to us that we light up in version 1. The first one that I'm going to talk about is Localnet. And then another key one is in there as well. And then that uses Bootstrap. So they're kind of the 3 key ones that we're going to look here at. And then Explore, is the 4th one. So Localnet is sort of the first thing we actually really started with. And it's essentially allowing you to very rapidly run a local version of the Algorand blockchain on your computer. And we do this using Docker. And so if I go like AlgoKit Localnet, then you can see that there's a number of things that we can do. We can start it, we can stop it, we can reset it, and we can run a console, which allows us to use the goal command line against it. And so I've actually already kind of run this, and I think it's probably running at the moment. So I might stop it. And you can see here, we've shelled out to Docker. AlgoKit as a CLI is actually quite simple. It basically wraps all of these other tools and things that already existed really in the ecosystem, but in a really nice way, so that you don't have to go and learn how, to spin up the right Docker Compose file to run AlgoKit on your system, or to remember, say, the URL to dappflow, which you'll see in a second. So, a lot of what we're doing really is just providing this really nice experience to, start up this stuff. Now, I talked about that explore command. So one of the things that, hang on, before I do that. So before we did this, to do what you're seeing happen here, you would go to the sandbox, which is a GitHub repository. You'd have to clone that repository. You'd run a shell script, which you couldn't do if you were on Windows. You would need to wait about 20 minutes for it to build the containers for you. And then you would, then you would have an environment that you could actually sort of interact with. But that wasn't intuitive, and it certainly didn't work across all of the different operating systems. Now, one thing that's interesting that's happening here is it's waiting for the containers to start, because there was a bug that was introduced recently that made the KMD service take a lot longer to run, but I believe there's a fix coming for that soon. I don't know if you know when that's happening, Alessandro.
Should be, I think, within 1-2 weeks.
Yeah, cool. So ordinarily, this should have taken a couple of seconds, basically. The interesting thing about this is that these commands that we're running here, like AlgoKit Localnet start, you can actually run them on a CI/CD environment as well, which means that you can do things like spin up an isolated Algorand network on your CI/CD agent, run automated tests against it before then, say deploying your code to testnet or mainnet or whatever it might be. Whereas previously, again, if you were using Sandbox, you'd have to wait 20 minutes for every single CI/CD build, which is, a really long amount of time for a developer feedback loop. I'm actually not quite sure why this is hanging. Obviously, this KMD service is very unhappy.
Well, Rob, this is just part and parcel of demonstrations. Of course, Windows 95 crashed during Bill Gates's demo. I mean, this is perfect. Right?
There you go.
You know what I'll say as well, though, just while Rob is getting that working. The complexity of this software is enormous. The complexity of the protocol itself is enormous. And the component Rob's speaking about there, KMD, is effectively like the key management daemon. It's like a low-level primitive that handles key material and is an agent that you speak to. And so AlgoKit is building on top of layers and layers and layers of abstraction. And of course, with that level of sophistication, naturally you have bugs from time to time. But I think what's wonderful about AlgoKit is that it targets all classes of user. And so just to dig into what Rob said about CI/CD there, I mean, I know the listeners of the Proof of Stake show are techies, right? But not everyone maybe is familiar with CI/CD stuff. And so this is this notion at an enterprise level, if you're building serious software for serious customers, you need to know that when a line of code is checked into your repository, that everything is cool and it hasn't broken anything. And so this CI/CD stuff allows automated testing to occur. So for example, you check something in or you merge a pull request, all of a sudden a virtual environment kicks off with all the commits that are supposed to be in the build, builds the system, tests the system, runs it in a virtualized environment, gives you feedback. And so the fact that AlgoKit can help a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old write a hello world application, and at the same time also be a tool which is sophisticated and powerful enough for an enterprise-grade user to run their CI/CD runners, really is testament to the gamut of users that it's serving. And yeah, Rob, over to you. Are we up and running?
Again, now I just did an update to see if the latest versions of the containers fix the problem, but it looks like they didn't. So this will be fun. We'll wait a little bit there for that. What was I going to say about what you just said?
But enterprise stuff or the gamut.
Yeah,
of the...
thank you. So it's a really good point, and certainly a very deliberate thing that we've been trying to do as part of this is to try to. There you go. That's where it's running now. Was to try to help developers fall into the pit of success for what we all consider to be really high quality software development practices, whilst at the same time providing the ability to quickly dive in and play around with it and do something that, like, if you're not trying to ship to production. And so both of those two modes of operation, if you want to call that, are directly supported by AlgoKit, and both of them are, first class citizens, I guess is the right way of putting it. And so for sure, things like providing a CI/CD setup in our templates as an option, so that we can encourage people to do automated tests before they deploy. And when they do the deployment, not do it as a manual deployment, but actually do it as an automated deployment. As an example, is something that we've deliberately included in the work that we've done, because we want to encourage people to build really serious applications that are frankly commensurate with the power of what you can do with Algorand as a technology protocol. Anyway, so Localnet's running now. There you go. Very good. It's probably in some ways it's nice when things don't work, because it kind of gives you a chance to sort of show like how you might resolve that. So in this case, it's like, I'm just going to reset my container. There's something wrong with it. I was probably on an old version, so I've hit update on there as well, just to get the complete latest stuff from Docker Hub. And now we're actually running, which is really cool. And then what I was going to show was the explore command. So if I go AlgoKit explore, what's happening here, it's just opened in another window there, is it's open dapp flow. So for anyone that hasn't seen it, it's this really, really lovely application being built by Shiva. And it's something that didn't exist when I was first building on Algorand. And I found when I was first building that I really, whilst I did I'm doing automation, I'm doing automated deployments, I'm not doing manual things, and I'm using the command line, but I still like to get the mental model in my head about what's happening. It is very useful being able to have a UI to see what's going on. And frankly, even now as an more experienced developer on Algorand, sometimes I do want to just go and look at like a list, like a table view of say all the transactions or all the apps or whatever it is, because you can see something at a glance. That's much faster than using the command line. So having the ability to very quickly bring up something like this pointed at your local development environment is really cool.
Also, I should add in this moment that we've hired Shiva, the developer of the app flow, at the foundation. And so he works with us on a daily basis. And what's great about that is we've in-housed, thankfully, raw talent from the community, someone who was already doing this because they loved it. It became part of AlgoKit, or certainly an important component in AlgoKit. And then we were fortunate enough that he accepted our offer to work directly with the foundation. So we're starting to build in-house expertise too, because of course it's important that over time the community and the foundation can maintain this software and not just Maker, of course, to be as self-sufficient as possible.
Absolutely.
And this was the first spicy alpha of the episode.
Yeah.
Welcome, Shiva.
Yeah, welcome, Shiva.
Can't wait. We're gonna have Shiva on the Proof of Stake show here in the upcoming week. So,
cool.
Yeah, Rob, we really want to have you kind of take us through. What does the development experience look like? So we've seen the infrastructure piece of it, right? So AlgoKit,
absolutely.
To me, when I talk about AlgoKit, I talk about it as three components, right? Like it's this templates. So we have AlgoKit init, and we'll go through that. We've got infrastructure. We've seen that. So we've done the AlgoKit Localnet start. And then the third thing is then the tool chain. So being able to spin up from a template all of your developer environment. So take us through it.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I think that the sort of piece de resistance of AlgoKit v1 is the init command. And it's a small command. There's 4 letters, but there's quite a lot packed into it. One of the most exciting things I think is that it's actually extremely extensible. We've actually built like a tool in the CLI with the init command that lets anyone in the community that decides to go and build one of these things craft a development experience for anyone else to use that there's a lot of power behind it. And so you'll see what I mean as we go through. I'm just going to do -H actually.
For folks that are maybe not as technical in the audience, AlgoKit init is the equivalent of file new project. It's that moment where you have an idea, you want to do your Hello World app, you want to do your very first smart contract, and AlgoKit init is what you type to kick that process off.
Yeah, absolutely. And the point I was going to make before I dive in and show that experience was that there's quite a lot of like command line parameters that you can pass in. So everything that I'm about to show you, I'm going to use the like getting started wizard experience that guides you through. But every single value that I enter in this wizard, you can pass into the command line and completely script what you're about to see. And that was important to us, I guess, to provide something that worked really well for people that are just getting started and they don't know what they don't know, right? Like, so we want to have something that guides them through, but equally that a really experienced person that knows what they're doing kind of can work really quickly because they've learned the command line arguments and they can tweak it and move a bit faster. So what I'm going to do though is do exactly what John just said. I'm just going to go AlgoKit init. I'm going to let it guide me through what's going on. There's a little bit of a spoiler alpha on the current thing, but I'm going to choose Beaker because that's what we shipped for version 1.0. Beaker being one of the smart contract libraries that you can use to build Algorand smart contracts and sort of the, I guess, official language, if you will, that is and library that is supported by AlgoKit. And so, but now that we've done that, it's going to ask us some questions. In particular, in this case, it's like, well, what's the name of your project? What folder do you want to put this in? So we'll just call this one proof of state. And what it's now doing is it's downloading the template that I selected, the Beaker template. And as part of that template, there are a series of questions that are defined that it's now going to ask me. So in this case, it's asking for the package author name. It's asking for my email. It's asking if I want to add VS Code configuration, which I do. It's asking me what programming language I want to use for the actual deployment. We've got Python and TypeScript. Just to keep it simple, I'm going to keep with Python. It's asking me if I want to use a Python linter. It's asking me if I want to, do formatting, type checking, unit tests. I'm just going to hit yes on all of these so that we get everything in there. Now this is the sort of production template here. There is a simpler version of this that doesn't ask you all of these questions and spits out a much simpler template, which is suitable for, if you're maybe doing things manually or playing around a little bit more. Of course, let's show the one with all the bells and whistles, right? And do the production one. So at this point, all the questions that template needed to ask me have been asked, and it has everything that it needs to know to be able to actually output the result. And now it's asking me if I want to run AlgoKit Bootstrap. So that was the fourth command that I mentioned at the start. Was one of the key ones that we produced in version 1. And what AlgoKit Bootstrap does is basically installs all of the dependencies and things that are needed for me to actually start doing the actual development. And the reason why we have that split from the init command is that you would execute the init command once when you're first starting a project, and then you would, commit those files to source control. And then every single developer that then needs to develop on that solution, they can run Bootstrap, and Bootstrap's going to install. In this case, you see here, we're running Poetry, which is the tool that we use to install all of the Python dependencies. And it does things like copy my environment template file into .env so that I can specify configuration on my computer only that's not going to get committed to source control and affect everyone else. So there's all of these little things that we've included in here that just make it really easy. So I don't have to do anything. I don't have to go and understand how to install packages using Poetry, because AlgoKit Bootstrap does it all for me. The last thing that it's asking me here is whether or not I want to initialize a Git repository and perform an initial commit. So I'll say yes to that. I'll let it do that for me. And a couple of things just happen here. If I go back to the command line, you can see that it successfully performed a Git commit. It's initialized the template. Here's the URL where that template came from if you want to go and explore that, or if you're a bit more adventurous and you want to create your own template, you could use this as a base. And then it said you included the VS Code configuration, and we found that you have VS Code, and so we're going to launch VS Code in this folder. And you saw that pop up there. So here we go. We've got the project here, and what we also do is we've detected that there's a readme.md file, and it's opened that up for you. And then that has the actual setup instructions. So if you're new to this, like, we've guided you into the pit of success. We've made it really easy for you because we've just kind of done everything for you. And in fact, what I can do right now is I can hit F5, and what's going to happen is, first and foremost, you can see there, it's just started Localnet for me. And then what it's done is it's actually running Beaker to build my smart contract and deploy my smart contract to the Localnet. You can see here, it's like, okay, I need to create a deployer account. I need to fund that deployer account. I'm then going to send the transaction to create the app. I've deployed it successfully. I'm going to fund the account behind that app. And then I'm going to call a method on that smart contract and get a value return from it. So what we've just done is like a huge amount of things. I haven't had to write any code. I've literally gone AlgoKit in it, answered some wizard questions, and then hit F5. I've literally done like 2 sets of key presses, and all of these things just happen. And then the really cool thing is this template that's been output here, not only does it work locally, like you can see here against my Localnet, but it's actually got code in here to do things like CI/CD against GitHub and automatically run tests and deploy this to testnet. And then you could add mainnet in there if you want. It actually also has some automated tests in there that call that smart contract again against the Localnet on my machine. And you can see here it asserted that if I called the hello method and passed in world, then it would return hello world, which is the same thing that happened in here. So we're showing you how you could write an automated test against Localnet. And we've got all of that automatic formatting and linting configuration in the VS Code settings here, so that if I go into the actual smart contract itself, and here it is here, hello world.py, and if I do something like, let's say I put a space there, if I hit Control S, then you can see it's actually automatically formatted that according to the formatting conventions, and all of the type safety that you get with Python using MyPy in this case is all in here as well, including all of the IntelliSense and that sort of thing. So I can hover over methods and see like what they are. And as I'm typing it, I get all of that IntelliSense as well. So there's a whole bunch of like developer experience we packed all together and lined everything up perfectly. So it just works.
And I think what you're seeing there, Ryan, what Rob is talking about there, the IntelliSense, and again, for people who are not coders but are also interested in this, that's this idea that the code will be completed for you, or suggestions will pop up on the screen. You type 1 or 2 letters, and it's like, oh, did you mean all this stuff? And even the stuff that Rob just showed there, like the automated testing. I mean, straight out of the box, he's in the command line. I appreciate that it's a developer tool, and so it is still requires the command line, but he's straight out of the box. He's entering the name of the project. He's hitting AlgoKit and he's entering the name of the project and a couple of questions, technical questions about whether he wants certain features turned on or off, and then simply hitting F5, just like you would do in Xcode on the Mac, or Android Studio on your Windows or Linux box, straight away it's building the app, deploying the app, and testing the app. And that build, test, and deploy, all done with a single keystroke where tests are written for you. I mean, there's hundreds of lines of code produced and automated, and you start in a safe, controlled, and well understood place. And so this is just, and straight away, just like with Rust, because if you do like a cargo init and you build your first Rust app, which is a very popular programming language for regular operating systems, it starts off with that hello world and it prints hello world to the screen. And so this is the blockchain analog. Of course, in blockchain, you don't typically have print statements in smart contracts. But what this is really doing is calling the contract, asking it to do a little bit of work, and the contract returns a value, which we then print to the screen. And so it really is nearly a perfect analog to that hello world or very first app within a smart contract context. And when I look at this, compared to what was there before AlgoKit was born, it just feels grown up. It finally feels like a mature ecosystem, very similar to Truffle or the Hard Hat experience on Ethereum, where you do get some love, right? You are cradled in the developer experience. And we're really getting there. And this is only AlgoKit major version 1. And right. So, of course, we're not stopping here. I mean, this is, of course, the essence, the DNA of good developer experience, but there's more coming for sure. Great demo, Rob.
Good.
Shall we tell the community about typed clients, which is something wonderful and we can showcase freely?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about it. Typed clients, what do you got?
Yeah, well, so we started by simply focusing on the main part, which was smart contract development. But of course, smart contract development is only one key piece, but a small piece of the developer experience. And if you want to build your DApp, a DApp consists of the smart contract, business logic, and the front end. Before AlgoKit, and this was released in 1.2, before AlgoKit, you'd have a smart contract, then you'd have to rewrite a lot of stuff to be able to speak to your smart contract. So with some of the work we've done before V1 and continued after the initial release and ARC32 as a standard, we're now able to automatically generate this code, which it's something that a quality of life improvement that I have never seen before. So it's something that we're leveraging now to build on the new stuff, that if you've had a keen eye during the init process, you might have seen where we're going at. But yeah, the type deployment client is something that we've focused on V1, is getting the foundation solid so that we can start building cool experiences. And this is the beginning. And yeah.
So maybe walk us through kind of what does the roadmap look like? Where are we going, and what should we expect? And hopefully you can say when.
Yep. Well, so as I said, smart contract development is only one small piece. And if we want AlgoKit to be the all-in-one toolbox, it needs to contain all the pieces. So we have smart contracts, we have type deployment clients. What's missing is something to make the website pretty and for users to interact with the smart contract. This may or may not be released within a few weeks. The jury's still out. We're working on it. But also there are other aspects of the developer experience that we're focusing on. We know that there is a lot of need for formal verification. We are looking at that. At the moment, even simply as a quality of life improvement, if you want to get testnet algos to test your smart contract in testnet, it's quite painful and it involves a lot of CAPTCHA solving. We are looking at that too. And then there are some secret sauces that we won't spoil until they're out, because those are the big ones.
Yeah, I keep getting in trouble because unlike executives at companies like Apple, where they say nothing until like Steve Jobs walks out on stage, I keep telling people about these excitable features because I'm just personally excited about it. So I've been told to stop that. But there are some super cool things coming. And so by the end of this year, we will have news around AlgoKit that is going to be as big as the initial drop, right? It's going to be transformational in terms of the experience. And again, but I'll tell you what is it doing? Telling you the specific thing that it's going to be. What is it doing? Making it easier, making it more inclusive, so that people of all ability levels, okay, because different people have different levels of experience with development. It's making it easier, clearer, more inclusive, easier to learn, easier to understand, and easier to bring your idea from a simple idea that you have in your head to something that's actually working in the mainnet.
Very good. Well, I want to remind you, John, the Proof of Stake show is a safe place. So if you got alpha, you're free to share alpha within this safe space. And we will certainly welcome you and the entire team back later on when it is time to release AlgoKit version next, whatever. How
2.0.
2.0.
Oh, yeah. Coming soon is 1.3, but
okay.
We're gearing towards 2.0.
Okay, so what Alessandro's talking about 1.3 weeks away, 2.0.
Extremely happy about it.
Okay, great. Later on in the calendar year, then I think is what
I'm on 2.0 already. I mean, just like Tim Cook is sitting at home probably right now having his dinner with his Apple Vision Pro headset on because he's he gets early access. I'm on 2.0. It's a bit of a flex. Okay, you gotta deal with it. I'm skipping 1.3.
Nice, love it. All right, good. Well, guys, how do we get connected to AlgoKit? Like, how do we start?
Well, you can start from our developer portal. We are at the moment, most of the documentation is still on GitHub repos. So github.com/algofoundation/AlgoKit CLI. We're working on improving that as well because, of course, documentation and onboarding is part of the experience. You will soon find all this information in the developer portal under the AlgoKit tag. But if you want to get up and running, it's pipx install AlgoKit.
It is pretty easy from the command line. Yes, pipx install AlgoKit.
Or just if you're on a Mac because you've got great taste,
yeah.
Just brew install AlgoKit, right? Homebrew on the Mac is like the package manager, and so just brew install AlgoKit, and all that digital goodness will rain down upon you.
Let's build. Yes. Well, good. How about you guys? Like, where's the best place for algo devs to give feedback about their experience with the AlgoKit, feature requests that they might have? Where should the Algo fam be reaching out to you?
So we have a Discord channel within the Algorand server. It's AlgoKit. We are extremely active there. You can personally reach out to me on Twitter. Sometimes I might be able to see it also on Discord, but as I said, the past few weeks, I gave up on the notifications there, but also open issues on GitHub. We are extremely active on GitHub. We have a whole pipeline that deals with issues there. So wherever you want to reach out to us, wherever you see AlgoKit mentioned, we are there and we are ready to reply.
And one other thing, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for just 2 seconds, but I basically believe really in open source. And so I know a lot of times with the protocol, as an example, both Cardano and with Algorand, because I've worked on both of them and I've seen both of them. Sometimes people contribute PORs. They take some time, they build something, and of course it's very difficult to merge PORs into the protocol because there's so much automated testing and stuff that has to be done, and there's a lot of friction there. But we do really want your feedback. We do want to make it better. And this is not, we're not building AlgoKit just for ourselves. It's not a private endeavor. We're never going to sell it or make money from it. This is for the community. It's for the ecosystem. It's for this platform. And so I want people to feel like they own it too. And so I care about the PRs. If you have a PR and you want to make a change, post the PR and we'll absolutely review it. And same with the issues, as Alessandro just said. We actively look at that Git repo. It's not a case of kind of like open source in name, but we ignore all the PRs and we ignore all the issues. We're not doing that. We want people to contribute, because ultimately, in 10 years' time, if AlgoKit is still successful, it's probably going to be driven by the community. more than it's driven by the foundation. And so that's where it needs to go to. I see a comment there in the audience. Yeah, I do really like Apple Gear.
So much.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure every time we chat and you're coming up with like an analogy for something we're talking about, I think 9 times out of 10 it's like, so in WWDC, like when this, like it's always an Apple thing, isn't it?
It is. By the way, I see everyday Algonaut there, PR for TealScript. Nice one. Appreciate that. That's super awesome. By the way, TealScript is a TypeScript abstract syntax tree for writing contracts in TypeScript. So super cool stuff. But you are right. The thing I like about them though is that they make just great products that are easy to use. Like they're not perfect, but they're great quality products, and they have a level of care in the design and the design language and the build that you just don't see from a lot of different companies. And by the way, I shared before the show, I bought my first PC for the first time in 23 years. Got a 4070 coming in, 4070 Ti, and an AMD Ryzen 7. And so I'm going to be building a PC over the next couple of days. And so I'm excited about that. So I'm kind of
stream.
Playing Apple a little bit.
We've got to live stream it, buddy.
We can start
Nice.
the Rocket League tournament.
This sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Actually, I might share my gamer tag or whatever it's called. I'm not cool enough. I don't know what it's called these days, but my Steam name. And then we can,
All right, very good. Well, it's been a blast. You guys have been awesome, and I can't wait to have you guys back. AlgoKit 1.3 is coming out soon, and by that I don't mean crypto soon. I mean actually quite soon. And Alessandro, can I have you back to show it off again?
Anytime.
All right. Anybody else interested in coming back?
Me, I'll come back anytime.
All right, love to have you. Wonderful. Well, Rob, thank you very much for staying up late for us, joining all the way from Australia, to our European friends, John and Alessandro. I thank you guys very much for joining us today here on the Algorand Proof of Stake Show. And until we see you again next week, have fun building an Algorand.
Thanks.